Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of Allah Almighty be upon you all, our dear viewers. Welcome once again to another episode under Why Religion. And today we're here to discuss another topic which is greatly connected with the religion of Islam, which is greatly connected with the core foundations of any religion, with the core foundations of every society that we find ourselves in, whether individually, as a community, as a country, as a nation, and the world at large. It's something we all highly seek, without which we cannot live together harmoniously. We'll be discussing the things that lead to the importance of having peace in our society and what roles we all have to play after we achieve peace. How do we maintain peace, and what specific teachings does Islam give us as individuals to make sure that we establish peace within our communities, and following those instructions of the Holy Quran and in teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we normally do, we have a great segment of this program where we'll be discussing here in the studio, but we also, our team also goes out to interview individuals, to ask them their thoughts and their views as far as each topic that we have here to discuss is concerned. And in this specific topic today, we'll be talking about Islam and peace, and we'll also be hearing from members of the public. In the studio here, in my immediate right, I have Mr. Musa Kijera, who is into finance by profession, and he's also serving in the MTA Muslim Jamaat the Gambia as the National Internal Auditor. Mr. Kijera, welcome to the program today. On my far right, becoming a common face now, Ustaz Musa Abba. I'm sure some of our Fulani brothers and sisters also enjoy the programs that come to them in Fula as well. Ustaz Musa Abba is a missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat in the Gambia, and he's also has been serving as a teacher but Nusrat Senior Secondary School. Mr. Ba, welcome to the program. And sometimes his introduction takes a big part of the program, but I think I'll learn to cut it short. But it's always a pleasure to have both of you in this program, discussing something that we all highly seek, without which we cannot be a society, without which we will not be comfortable around each other, and that is peace, a very important thing in our society. Ustaz Musa, starting from you, as far as Islam is concerned, when we talk about peace, what are we talking about?
Thank you very much. First, I want to start by saying Islam, the name Islam itself means peace. That is peace through submission to the will of Allah the Almighty. Now, that presupposes, therefore, that one has to recognize his Creator, and that is very important. And in the previous few years, our current head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, has repeatedly spoken in different platforms, calling on the world that the only way to attaining peace is recognizing the Creator and giving him his due. Therefore, I can say that from the Islamic point of view, peace means having this connection with your Creator, submitting yourself to the Creator first, and then widening it to his creation. So there should be a harmonious relationship on the one hand between you and your Maker, that is man and his Maker, and on the other hand, man and his fellow men. Now that means there should not be any rift, any strife, any hatred or grudges. You know, that is in essence what Islam views as peace. You know, when someone is at peace with God, then you can be at peace with mankind.
It becomes it's like a natural phenomenon. Once you are at peace with God, then I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. And knowing that in religion in general, it's a continuous cycle. You don't get to a point where you say, okay, now I've attained peace with God, I turn my face to the other side, I can do whatever I want. It naturally restricts you from certain things. It naturally, you are inclined to certain things which will promote peace. And thank you so much for that introduction and breaking the ice for us. Mr. Kijara, having understood from what our teacher and our Ustaz has told us about Islam and its definition of peace, looking at that and looking at the current situation of the world, starting from our own borders, our own boundaries in the Gambia, and looking at it going out, what is the condition of the world for those who may not be exposed to what's happening in other parts of the world? If you could just give us a synopsis, as draw a portrait for us as to what's going on as far as the lack or the presence of peace in the world.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Diwa. Thank you very much for the question. The present condition of the world in relation to peace is there for everybody to see. We lack peace, definitely, at all levels, at family level, societal level, national level, and international level. And the achievement of peace starts from the individual himself. If you look at the teachings of the Holy Quran in chapter 13, verse 29, where Allah the Almighty is saying, those who believe and whose heart find comfort in the remembrance of Allah. It is in the remembrance of Allah that hearts can find comfort. And when an individual heart finds comfort, the individual is at peace with himself. And you cannot extend something outside if it is not within you first. So it's important that we be at peace with ourselves first, and the criteria that the Holy Quran teaches to achieve that is to be with God, the remembrance of Allah. So that when we look at the society today, the reason for the absence of peace is the decline in morality, and we know morality can be sharpened through the teachings of religion per se. If there is no religion, man actually would have very little morals. And if there is no morals, actually the absence of peace would be the next thing that would be available. If you look at the society today, and at national level, international level, all over is war, chaos. And the reason for this is because of the absence of peace. And peace also, you cannot have peace until you do what is right. Taqwa, the fear of Allah. So in a nutshell, the absence of peace in the world is because of lack of connection with God, with God Almighty. Yeah.
And, it was elaborated by Brother Musa. I think, well, both of you are Musa, so I'll have to say the full names to ensure that I don't confuse the audience. Yes, so keeping that in mind, that it's really what's inside that defines if somebody is at peace or not. You know, somebody can be, you know, like you said, why religion? That's what we are discussing. Somebody cannot be without any faith, somebody can be very faithful, have taqwa, they may be very poor, you know, economically and socially. People may abandon them and shun them. They're being persecuted because of their faith, and people think they're imprisoned. Ahmadis are going through that. But deep inside, they are at peace. They cannot be broken down. While as others who may be wealthy and have whatever they want in the world, but they don't have peace. How important is that? And I think we really need to hammer this home here and really explain, you know, internal peace as far as Islam or religion providing that, Ustaz, as well.
Yeah, you know, like I said already, our beloved Hudur, the current head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, keeps repeating this message everywhere he goes in the world. And he keeps telling people that if we do not go back and create a connection between us and our Creator, there cannot be peace. Now, the world seems to be turning its back on the Creator. And as a result, the best thing people can have, if there's no connection with God, they can have what is generally referred to as a negative peace. Of course, you can live in a society, there's no war, but it is a negative peace because there is fear, there is turmoil, there is anxiety. And this is where the Holy Quran seeks to reassure us that when we have this connection with God and we are doing the right thing, la takhafu wa la tahzanu. You will not have fear and you will not be anxious, you will not have this anxiety. So unless we find that bond and connect with our Creator, we cannot have peace. the best thing will be a negative peace. And that is not what we are talking about. We are talking, of course, of positive peace. And that, like my brother has said, has to start from within. The person has to have this inner peace in himself. And to get that, it has to be, again, connection to God. Because if you do not have that inner peace, you will not be able to spread it. You know, the best thing you will be doing is hypocrisy. You know, preaching peace outside, but within, you are not at peace, because you are not at peace with your maker. So we need to first recognize our God. Second, work on creating that connection, that link, that bond with him. And if he now gives us peace, inner peace, then we'll be able to spread this inner peace first to our families, to the society in the village we live or community we live, then to the wider world.
So and that is something that we may not even have to stand up and make great speeches. Somebody just interacting with you can tell. And that peace will portray itself out. And anyone you talk to, anyone that sees you will know that this is somebody that I want to relate with. This is somebody that I want to be around. You have a positive impact in society. We also did ask people who are out there, and we go out into the street. So if we see you, don't run away from our cameras. Some of our producers have been telling us that it's a struggle to get people to stand in front of the camera. But we appreciate those who shared their thoughts as to the current situation of the world as far as peace is concerned. Let's listen to them, and then we'll come back here and continue with the discussion in the studio.
Some of the people are fighting for themselves. In this society, you have to fight for everyone to have the good things, but you should not fight for yourself. You have to fight for everyone's benefits to make everyone to come in peace and make everything to be good. That's how, especially in Africa here, how we do. Everyone fight for themselves, and we should not do that. Or you can see some get it and fight for themselves, make an interest for themselves. And if you have something, you have to distribute it and everyone to live in peace. That's how.
I think most of the time the politicians do fail us as citizens, not actually Gambia, but I mean the global world. An example is, for example, Mali. Look at the situation that is happening currently at Mali, where a majority of the people are saying that the president should come down, but refusing to come down, and that has forced the military to take over. And most military takeover is not something that people like, but most of the time it ends up in dictatorship. But people have no choice. If the president decide that they will never come down after the end of term, this is what usually led to military takeover, most especially Africa. And this is where we have to focus on and make sure that our leaders are are held accountable and make sure that what they promised, the citizens, they deliver on it, and also respect the constitutions of countries.
So it is a sad situation. If you look at the Middle East, countries of the Middle East, this issue of Arab-Israeli conflict has led to a lot of instability. If you look at presently the Libyan war, if you look at the war in Yemen, all this is causing havoc in the world. The world is witnessing the most dangerous situations. So I think presently, even when you go to South America, places like Venezuela, it's not only an economic crisis, it's also a political crisis. A government within a government is existing in Venezuela. So such a situation is not a good sign for the world peace.
Actually entails a lot. And if you look at the world at the moment, there are wars and things going on. But I would say peace deals with oneself, right? It's the motive behind a person's move, right? So the world as today, I will not say it's so peaceful because there are some killings and there are some dubious things happening in the world. And I'll say, I'll just rate it as a 60%, yeah, for peace in the country, yeah.
Welcome back into the studio, our dear viewers. We'll continue with the discussion as we shed some light in the beginning as to what is peace and our dear panelists really talk to us about the inner peace that needs to be established first through our relationship with our Creator. And that is the essence of this program. In whatever topic we discuss, we are not just here to talk about theory. We're here to say, practically speaking, how does Islam play a role as far as your life is concerned, and how does it define ways for you to achieve all these things that have been really put out there for us in the Holy Quran, in the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to enlighten our dear viewers and continue to make Islam a practical religion, a discipline, a way of life. Ustaz Ba, starting with you, we did talk about some of those conflicts that the world is going through and inner peace. But when it comes to the causes of conflict in the first place, something causes the lack of peace, because we are created peaceful. We are created as peaceful beings. God created us in His own image. But there are many reasons why we have that absence of peace in a society, in a country, in the world, as it was presented by Brother Musa Kijara. What do you think are some of the things that lead us to conflicts and strife?
Okay. Well, one of the causes we have already identified, that's in a broad way, the general terms, that is the lack of connection with our Creator. But coming down to practicals in our way of life, I believe that the greatest cause of peace is economic injustice. Now, when there is economic injustice, people are deprived. They are not given the opportunities that they think that they deserve, and as a result they are agitated, and that causes the rift between people. Now, the current situation of the world is like greed is what is driving most people, individually and sometimes even in nations. Now, it's like a cancer. You know, if one is familiar with the concept of the problem of cancer, it is a cell that, you know, decides that it is the only one that should survive. So it takes up all the, you know, needs of the other cells and it gathers it onto itself. You know, as it grows, it is taking more space. You know, the other cells have nothing to survive on. That is the analogy. It's the exact thing that is what's happening in the world. So a few nations or a few people in a particular society may decide that maybe they are more deserving of the economic resources, so they gather it onto themselves, leaving the rest destitute. So those, most of the time, they are the masses. So as this lack, this want intensifies, you know, they start feeling the pinch, and then they start trying to find ways of getting their portion of the economy or whatever as they see fit. And that is what causes the rift. If you look at it from individual level, from national level, it's the same problem. So that is really what is behind the many strifes that we have in the world. Now, there is a perception among some people that many will tell you that religion is the cause of the conflicts. But it is not necessarily true. If you look at it critically, even those people who profess religion, who use religion as a cover to commit certain crimes, deep down, if you look at it, you find that mostly it is politically motivated. And if it is politically motivated, it is because it is economically motivated. So economic injustice, that is, yes, the main cause, yes.
And Mr. Kijara, you have been working in this country for the longest time, educated here and pretty exposed. You've seen what's going on in the world as well, traveled, both of you, in fact. What he just said, even in workplaces, if somebody is put in charge of you know, 2-3 individuals as a supervisor, sometimes we try to exercise our dominance over them. You know, we try to take most of the resources. Corruption, for example, like you're talking about, somebody's head of a department, and they feel that since they have direct access to something, they will deprive others of it. And we know, you know, like they say, ikanyo korte, you know, people are fighting for position. That greed, we even find it within a small company or even within the government. You know, how does that affect us as far as our faith is concerned, as far as our relationship individually is concerned?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Riba. As my Tom Musa rightly said, well, actually, the reason for all of these things, if you would like, is basically the absence of fear of God. People don't care about you know God. They don't care, So that, because you really don't care about God, whatever you do would not be, based on the fear of Allah. If you look at all of these unhealthy things, let's say, for instance, unhealthy competition to, acquire, to amaze wealth. If you look at Surah Al-Takasur, what Allah says in the Holy Quran, that unhealthy competition in amazing wealth diverts your attention from the remembrance of Allah. And whatever human being does, if you don't put Allah as your focus, you would not do, the right thing. So, like you rightly said, I've been working in the Gambia for a while now, and even at our workplaces, you have this, office politics. And if you look at this office politics, if you take your time to, scrutinize, the reason for all of these things is economic benefits, like my brother Musa, rightly said. And the simple reason for all of these things is to acquire more than what you're supposed to have at the disadvantage of your fellow human beings. At national level, international level, if you look at all the problems of the world today, the absence of peace is basically, some may appear as if it is political, but the bottom line is, economic interest. Yes.
Instant gratification.
Yes.
People are looking for that instant reward for whatever it is that they feel that they're exposed to. I mean, we know many countries where somebody gets appointed as a minister or whatever today, next minute they raise a foundation for a story building, and if you don't do that, they call you a fool. Yes. And this lead, because not understanding that you are literally stealing directly from the people, and sometimes it's not addressed, and people don't understand that this is their right that's being manipulated. But in an instance, fast forward, let's say we paint a scenario where we are in a society where now there's peace, right? Now there's peace, and some individuals or some groups are trying to take that away. What is our responsibility then as individuals, as a society, to maintain peace once we've achieved it? Because it can easily slip our hands when we have the wrong people at the wrong places. How do we play the role of maintaining peace once we've achieved it?
First of all, like you said, once we attain it, once we achieve it, then we have to try to export it to others. But how do you do that? The best way is to act in accordance with your words. Now, don't only preach, but practice peace first in your life, as an individual, as a community. Show the world, show the outsiders that this is how peace is attained and maintained. Then try to export it. It's not only about preaching and telling people, it is about living it yourself. Now, people learn more from your actions than your words. So once you have it, practice it so that they will see, they will learn from your actions instead of just saying it. Now, I think it has to do with also enlightenment, educating the people, letting them know that this is what needs to be done, and this is how it needs to be done, particularly in the area of justice and fairness, equal treatment of people. That is important, not only in words, but in practice. Once a community can do that within itself, now the outsiders will observe that, and they will learn from it, and they will practice it. Whether they acknowledge it or not, they will practice it. So the best way is, to practice.
Yeah, I think being proactive as well, like you said,
yes.
If a society is provided with their needs, and that's something that Islam really, really, touched on. In the case of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, we know that, while he was a Khalifa, he would carry out responsibilities himself, and he would say, look, if I don't do this, then the day of judgment, no one will carry my burden for me. So being in authority, being, in charge, whether it's government, as a president, minister, whatever, sole responsibility first is to provide for the people, so that to avoid any reason for them to come out. And we know about protests that are happening in all this, the Arab Spring, and because people are frustrated, they feel that they don't have basic needs like justice. And I'm not saying people need to go out and protest, but it becomes the responsibility of the people in authority first to serve, so that we can avoid things that can happen. I think that's a really important thing right there, like you said, to avoid the need for the people to come out again and cause trouble by providing for them their basic needs. Solutions are very important as long as we discuss as many problems as possible. Mr. Kijera, coming to you, now we know that, for example, in the Gambia, nowadays people are talking about change of leadership and who should be what, and others fear that this may lead to peace being taken away from us. And this is a very delicate society we find ourselves in, where something small is about to happen, everyone runs to Senegal. I think it's really important for us to discuss something like that. And what does Islam say about that? How do we deal with situations like this? Do we just panic and run away, and do we just go out on protest and fight? What should be our responsibility?
Yes, Mr. Diba, this is a very important question. If we looked at the word Abduhu wa Rasuluhu, when God referred to the Holy Prophet Muhammad as Abduhu, that means the servant of Allah. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that you cannot be a good leader until and unless you know how to serve. You cannot serve well, you cannot lead until you know how to serve. So it should be noted that all of us, if you want to serve people, if you want to be there as a leader, you must first learn how to serve people. You have to be selfless. And being selfless is to help people to do what is right, and then the people will follow suit. If you look at, most of the laws we have in place, when it comes to Sharia, you look at our constitution, you look at our various laws in place, these are beautiful laws. These are beautiful things that are put in place to check all of these problems, so that we do not see ourselves as a society falling into chaos and, fighting each other and things like that. So that whoever is wanting against these laws, when they are taken to a court of law, the same law that we have in place would be invoked against you. Either you'll be charged for corruption, negligence, or whatever. So this is telling us that we have laws in place, very beautiful ones. If you're going to refer to Islam, the teachings of Islam is such that, when you follow it, you'll have individual peace, societal peace, and international peace. Our constitution also is the same thing. This is why when you break the law, when you do something wrong, you are judged through that law, the constitution, in the courts, and you are found to be not doing the right thing, and there'll be charges against you. Understand? So my advice here is, let us look into those laws and try to act upon them as much as we can.
But that comes with education.
Exactly.
People don't even I don't want to just paint everyone with one brush, but people don't understand what the law is. Yeah, and even within Islam, people. Yeah.
My point is, understanding something does not necessarily mean you should be able to read. To read and write, right?
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, whoever is chosen or to be chosen to lead us, there are certain moral qualities the person must possess, so that you can teach people through saying and through your deeds, your actions.
So I think in a nutshell, from both the leadership, the people, the groups, the organizations, we all have a responsibility to play.
Absolutely.
And everyone needs to understand each other's roles as well. You don't just stay in your zone and say, well, this is what I have to do, I don't care what you have to do. There needs to be that correlation, there needs to be that understanding, that free flow of information, so we're all comfortable with each other's roles and be open about it. Ustaz, coming to you as well, in 2 minutes we'll also go out and see what others have to say as far as that is concerned as well. But coming to the having Islam as the solution, right, as far as maintaining peace or establishing peace is concerned, justice is very important, because peace is not an individual entity. It's an end result of there being justice first. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, indeed. First, we have to set the baseline, the background. we are told in the Holy Quran that Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that Allah is the Lord of the universe. Now that is explicit in the sense that it does not restrict the favors or the mercy or the providence of Allah to one community, one ethnic group or one country. Right. So it's the whole universe. So that has to be the concept first, that we are all part of that rububiyah, that creation of Allah. And as a result, we have to have respect and fairness and tolerance towards others, because ultimately we are all under Allah the Almighty. That is presupposing, of course, we recognize our Creator. That is one thing. But then it goes further in service. How do you serve? Who do you serve? Do you serve only your brother? Do you serve only your aunt? No, service should be for everyone. So once, as an individual or a community, you are serving without discrimination, then that is a foundation for peace. Right. Now, if there is time, you will see that this khidmat al-khalq, service to humanity, is something that is very, is a cornerstone to the movement, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Right. And we can widen that and link it towards how we seek to maintain peace.
Absolutely. And that is in fact why the Holy Quran has told us that we stand by peace, even if it's against ourselves and against our relatives and so on and so forth. But again, as I promised you before, we will go out and see what members of the society also have to say about this, the solutions as far as the responsibilities we have as individuals, as a society, in terms of maintaining peace is concerned. Let's hear from them, and we'll come back and discuss the last segment of this program.
In order to maintain peace in society as individuals, all of us have to be law-abiding citizens. We also have to respect our constitutions and respect one another. And if we follow all these processes, and then I definitely believe that there will be peace in the world. But without respect for one another, without respect for law, and then the constitution of one's, it will end up creating violence and conflict. So it is very important that we respect each other and respect our laws and constitutions. Definitely, if these things are followed, there will be peace in the world.
Well, as an individual, it is binding upon each of us to do our efforts to maintain peace within our country or beyond. So we can make efforts how to bring communities together, how to tolerate each other, regardless of our ethnic differences, regardless of our religious differences, regional differences. I think we can make serious efforts to bring peace to the doorsteps of our neighbors.
Love is a factor. If you have love, you'll be able to control, you'll be able to enhance peace. So take it for example that you are in need of something and you are able to give your friend something, all right? It's one thing that will be able to enhance peace, to be able to enhance peace, all right, in the country. But I would say, how do you want somebody to treat you? The Bible says, do as unto others as you want others to do unto you. So if you are able to do good to somebody, the same will come to you. So that is actually peace. That is what will bring peace to the nations.
Welcome back, dear viewers, to the last segment of the program today under Why Religion, and we were talking about Islam and peace. And now we'll be discussing solutions. What solutions are there that people may not know, or people know about, but they don't understand how to implement it? How do we take those practical teachings that are in the Holy Quran that you may read on a daily basis, but there doesn't seem to be a mechanism? There doesn't seem to be a leadership that guides you practically as to how to bring that about. And I think, Ustaz Musa Abbas, starting from you, religious organizations, in some countries or in some places, they are seen as just a body that comes out every now and then, just advises the government or, or individuals here and there, and then they go back into their shells. Is that what a religious organization is supposed to contribute, period, as far as establishing peace is concerned? Or is there more?
Well, first, I think it has to be understood that religion is a way of life. Religion is not only about going to the mosque or about going to the church. It encompasses your entire being, your whole way of life. So that means, therefore, in even other aspects of human life, religion has a say, has a role to play there. So that is why you will see the religious organizations, they should not only be engaged in going to the mosque or church and coming back. No, they should also go out there and involve their followers, their adherents, in things that will bring about peace. And how do we do that? It's not only about standing somewhere and saying peace, peace. What are the causes of the lack of peace? Like we have identified economic injustice, we have identified lack of opportunities. What does a religious organization do to ensure that its followers have these opportunities which will enable them live dignified lives to an extent that they will not need to go out there and protest or take guns and fight and stuff? All these things are part of the responsibilities of a religion or a religious organization, like educating the people, for instance. And that when we talk about that, we are not only talking about coming and telling people that, okay, peace means this or peace means that. Practically, what do you do to ensure that there is peace? In terms of, for example, education. If you look at, I already touched on this, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has these endeavors in the world where schools are built to provide the local people opportunities to learn and be educated and be skilled so that they can be useful members of society tomorrow. We provide health services, and so many other things, help in agriculture, sponsoring people at the universities. So that people are enlightened, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they will have something to do to survive. So they will not need to go out there and protest or use guns to take their share of the cake. So all these things are responsibility of a religion or a religious community.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the education part, Mr. Kijera, in the Gambia mainly we have Islam, we have Christianity. Every Friday, at least we're expected to go to the mosque and you listen to a sermon, whether short or long. There's a person that's given a responsibility to communicate, and that's the essence there. And people sometimes, some people will go in the last minute when the prayer is about to start and they'll miss the whole sermon. That you're missing an essential part of the prayer. The sermon is important for there to be communication, to address some of these issues, not only religiously to say pray, fast and give charity, but something that the society is going through. Mr. Kijara, we have Christians here who go to church every Sunday and sermons are given in the church. Would that be a platform where some of these things could be addressed, where people are given guidance and told what to do, how to do them?
Yes, of course. Going to mosque on Fridays, listening to the imams, sermons, khutbah, and going to church on Sundays. These are very important platforms where people can be taught on matters that is affecting the society. But like my brother said, as far as Islam is concerned, Islam is a lifestyle. So we, as Muslims, our scholars, we should not only limit ourselves to advising the society during Jummah prayers. This should be an ongoing thing all the time. And it should not only be a lip service to the people, we should act upon what we say, so that those who are down there looking at us as leaders, as scholars, preachers, they would appreciate what we are saying and follow suit. And it should not only be such that the scholars would be there to talk about incidents that happened some centuries ago. Islam is a living religion. We should be talking, we should always talk about burning issues, contemporary issues that are at hand right now, so that our responsibility as scholars is to advise the leaders as to how to be a good leader, how to, discharge your responsibility, and also those who are being governed, those who are being ruled, to know how to react, how to behave, as responsible people. Right. So I think this should be an ongoing thing, and not only at that level, but at family level also.
Absolutely.
Each and every one of us is a leader somehow at family levels. We will be judged as far as yes is concerned.
So Ustaz Musaba, looking at it from both the leadership, as far as the ones that are being ruled, or you know, the followers, as you said, looking at the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, what is it doing in terms of not only educating but practically ensuring that its followers are following suit in you know, establishing these institutions that you know, the Holy Quran is giving us essentially, and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us? What are we doing today as the Ahmadiyya Muslim community worldwide, from the leadership coming down to individuals?
Yeah, that's a very important aspect of it. I just want to add to what my brother has said about talking on or giving guidance on current issues. I know some imams, for example, in this country who will read the khutbah of Hadrat Umar or Hadrat Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu. I say, come on, my friend, the problems are totally different. The problems that people are facing today are not the same as the problems that people faced 1,400 years ago. So that is a very important aspect, and it should be ongoing. Coming to the efforts of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in establishing peace, in addition to building schools, educating people, hospitals and stuff like that, we have an institution of Khilafah that is a guided leadership that is under the protection of Allah the Almighty Himself. We have a worldwide head that is the Khalifa of the time, who constantly, you know, guides his followers through not only his Friday sermons, but also through seminars and the programs that he holds on a daily basis. He is constantly, you know, making an effort to educate people, to enlighten his followers, to tell them, give them guidance on the current issues. Let me give a simple example. Just recently, the Lajna, that is the female wing of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, published a book based on the guidance of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, that is the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, on the issues, the use, maybe benefits and negative impact of social media. You know, that's a complete guide for people. That is what is happening in the world. Many of the problems that we are facing today are, you know, emanating from social media and the new media, as they call it. Now, Khalifatul Masih has given guidelines on those in his Friday sermons, in his speeches, in his addresses to different world assemblies. And the wing of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, female wing, publish that in book form for the guidance of the Ahmadi members. So that is one thing that is very essential for a religious community to do, and we are doing that by
there are many of such. And,
yes.
and we, as we were discussing a couple of days ago, we were talking about the things that even as a country we are going through. You know, things like 3 years Jatna, this thing, people have different opinions. And if you are a Christian or a Muslim, where are you getting your guidance from? What's your religious leader telling you? Do you know what to do? Do you understand the problems that, or if you don't see it as a problem, at least the issues, or some people see it as problems that are being discussed in our VOOs, in our rendezvous, in our, you know, when we're discussing in our family homes, people are listening to WhatsApp audios on Facebook, comments, and without even filtering what truth is and what the lies is. And then some of the guidance is, like you said, social media. How do we filter information? So we'll come to you with more of those to discuss social issues, things that we're expected to do, how to do them, to guide and to bring religion as a source of light to all of you. But this is MTA Gambia and our program, Why Religion? I'm your host, Abdullah Diba, and I thank all of my panelists here who discussed very thoroughly and really did justice to this topic. And we continue to hope to have you all listening and watching to this program of Why Religion from MTA Gambia. But until we see you again, a warm Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.